Watching ABC4 News, celebrating 75 years.
Welcome back. In national news, the Supreme Court keeping the status quo on the abortion drug mifepristone, at least for now. The High Court granting a full stay of a lower court order from a judge in Texas over the FDA's approval of the pill. ABC's Elizabeth Schultz with the details.
The Supreme Court putting a pause on rulings from two lower courts that would have severely restricted access to mifepristone, a medication the CDC says is used in more than half of U.S. abortions. Conservative Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas dissented, indicating they would have let the restrictions go into effect. Abortion rights advocates and the pharmaceutical industry relieved by the High Court's decision. President Biden saying in a statement, "I continue to stand by FDA's evidence-based approval of mifepristone. The stakes could not be higher for women across America." The senior counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom, which filed the lawsuit in Texas challenging the FDA approval of mifepristone, responded in a statement saying, "We look forward to a final outcome in this case that will hold the FDA accountable." The federal judge in that case sided with anti-abortion activists, saying mifepristone should never have been approved by the FDA more than 20 years ago. Legal experts say this case could have a much wider impact.
If you can have a drug be approved, be on the market for 23 years, and then have it pulled from the market, that's deeply problematic. And if you're a pharmaceutical company, you may think twice about investing money in research to develop drugs, particularly ones that might be deemed socially controversial.
Oral arguments related to the Texas case will begin on May 17th at the conservative Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The decision from that court could ultimately send the case back to the Supreme Court. Elizabeth Schultz, ABC News, Washington.
Turning now to the crisis in Sudan. Despite an agreement for a 3-day ceasefire being reached, fighting persists. So far, deadly clashes have claimed the life of at least one American among the more than 600 confirmed dead. The U.S. military now preparing for the possible evacuation of American citizens amid the fierce fighting. All this as the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces agreeing to a 3-day ceasefire. The Pentagon now rushing additional U.S. forces to an area nearby to help in a possible evacuation of the dozens of U.S. Embassy personnel now sheltering in place.
If and when there's a decision to move towards some sort of military evacuation, then we'll have more to say about that at the time in terms of size, scale, scope.
The White House saying while the state and defense departments will do everything in their power to keep U.S. government personnel in Sudan safe, other U.S. citizens not affiliated with the government should not expect to be rescued. The White House urging Americans in Sudan to use commercial options to leave the country. This is the airport in the capital has been pummeled by shelling. Coming up here on ABC4 News, the Twilight Saga is getting the TV treatment. Hear what the new plans are for this TV trilogy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.